All right, so are you ready for this? We've got some really interesting research to dive into today.
Yeah, it looks like some fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it's all about lipedema and how light therapy could maybe be a key to helping people who have it. We've got like excerpts from a guide that explains like the different stages and types of lipedema.
Okay.
And we've also got some scientific studies about using specific wavelengths of light, like 635 nanometers and 810 nanometers for treatment.
Interesting.
Pretty amazing to think that, just light could offer a new way to like reduce fat and pain.
Yeah, definitely. And for those who are, struggling with lipedema, I think this research will give them hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think before we get into the science of photobiomodulation, maybe we should talk about what exactly lipedema is.
Yeah, definitely. It's important to like understand the problem before we try to, look at the solutions.
Right.
So could you explain what lipedema is and how it's different from just like regular weight gain?
Well, lipedema is a chronic disorder.
Okay.
That means it's ongoing.
Right.
And it's where fat builds up in your body. But it's disproportionate and mainly in the legs and arms. And it's not just about, how it looks.
Yeah.
This excess fat can be really painful, and it doesn't respond to diet and exercise like regular fat does.
Oh, wow. So you could be doing everything right and still struggling with this.
Exactly. It can be incredibly frustrating and disheartening for people with lipedema.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not just the extra weight, but it's the pain and like the feeling of being stuck.
Yeah.
Even though you're trying to do something about it. And this guide we have breaks down lipedema into 4 stages, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
The stages help us understand how the condition progresses.
Okay.
So in stage 1, the changes are subtle, The skin might look smooth.
Okay.
But underneath, the tissue feels kind of spongy, almost like a pillow.
Oh, wow.
And it's often mistaken for just regular weight gain because it looks symmetrical.
So you might not even know that you have it.
Exactly. A lot of people are misdiagnosed. But when it gets to stage 2, the fat becomes denser and these little nodules start to form.
Okay.
And the skin gets a bumpier texture. Sometimes it's described as like an orange peel look.
Huh. And then it sounds like it gets even more challenging in the later stages.
Yeah, sadly in stage 3, the fat accumulation becomes more aggressive and you get these large folds of fat or lobules developing and often hanging from the inner thighs or under the knees.
Oh, wow.
And this can really restrict movement and cause, joint problems or even venous diseases.
So it's not just about how it looks, but how it affects your life.
Exactly. It impacts daily life and overall health.
Right. And then stage 4 is the most severe.
Yeah, stage 4 is also called lipolymphedema.
Okay.
And at that stage, the massive fat deposits overload your lymphatic system.
So the system that's supposed to balance the fluid in your body.
Right. And that leads to severe swelling and even more limits on mobility.
Sounds so difficult to live with.
It can be debilitating.
Yeah. And it's not just the stage that matters.
Yeah.
Right. There are different types of lipedema too.
That affect where the fat builds up.
Absolutely. There are 5 types of lipedema.
Okay.
Each affecting different areas of the body.
Okay.
So for example, type I mainly affects the area between the navel and the hips. But type 4 affects the shoulders all the way down to the wrists.
Wow. So it really is complex.
It is. It's complex with a range of ways it can present, and each person experiences it differently.
This is all so interesting, and we haven't even gotten to like the solutions yet.
Right.
I'm really excited to talk about using light therapy or photobiomodulation to treat lipedema.
Okay.
So can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, this is where the science gets really fascinating.
Okay.
Photobiomodulation uses certain wavelengths of light to trigger changes at a cellular level.
So light can actually change what happens inside our cells.
It can.
Wow.
Think of it like photosynthesis for humans.
Oh, okay.
So just like plants use light to turn carbon dioxide and water into glucose, specific wavelengths of light can interact with our cells to stimulate healing, reduce inflammation, and even potentially reduce fat and pain.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So how does this work with lipedema? What kind of light are we talking about?
The research you sent me focuses on 2 wavelengths, 635 nanometers and 810 nanometers.
Okay. And what have scientists found when they use those wavelengths to treat lipedema?
Well, one study a double-blind, randomized, sham-controlled trial.
Wow, that's the gold standard.
It is.
The research.
Yeah, it showed that 635 millimeter LLLT, or low-level laser therapy, was really effective in reducing upper arm circumference in people with lipedema.
So how much of a reduction are we talking about here?
Well, the people in this study saw an average reduction of 3.7 centimeters in their upper arm circumference after only 6 treatments.
Wow, that's almost an inch and a half.
It is.
That's a huge difference.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and I can imagine that would make a big impact on someone's life, both physically and emotionally.
Absolutely. And what's even better is that the treatment was totally painless. Yeah, and the study reported no side effects at all.
So painless and effective.
Yeah.
That's amazing, especially for a condition that already causes so much pain.
It is. We're talking about a gentler and more natural way to deal with the challenges of lipedema.
I like it. So how does the light therapy actually target the fat?
We have another study that helps explain that.
Okay.
It suggests that the light energy from the laser creates these tiny temporary pores in the fat cells, and that lets the lipids or fats leak out.
Oh, so it's like they're deflating like tiny balloons.
That's a great way to think about it.
That's interesting.
It could explain why the treatment doesn't cause damage to the surrounding tissues.
So it's a really targeted approach.
It is. It just gently encourages the fat cells to let go of their contents.
This is all so fascinating, but we're only just starting to understand this, right?
Yeah, we are. There's so much more to explore.
Like the different wavelengths and how they work.
Exactly. Each of those wavelengths, the 635 and the 810, they seem to have their own unique strengths when it comes to treating lipedema.
Okay, so we'll dig into that next.
We will.
Listeners, stick with us as we continue this deep dive into the world of lipedema and the potential of light therapy. So we were talking about how LLLT, using those wavelengths, the 635 and 810,
right,
could really make a difference. But what's so special about those wavelengths?
Well, you can think of it like tuning into a specific radio station.
Okay.
Different wavelengths of light have different energies,
Right.
and they interact with our bodies in unique ways. The research you sent focuses on 635 nanometers and 810 nanometers because they seem to be the best for interacting with fat cells and, making positive changes happen.
So it's like finding the right key to unlock the door to fat reduction and pain relief.
Exactly.
I like it.
And each of these wavelengths seem to have their own strength.
Okay.
We talked about the 635 millimeter wavelength.
Yeah, how it makes those temporary pores in fat cells.
Right, which allows the lipids to be released.
Yeah, and we saw that in the study with the reductions in upper arm circumference. But it could do even more than that.
There's more and more evidence that 635 millimeter light might also be able to stimulate the lymphatic system.
Oh, wow. Which is so important for fluid balance.
Right, especially for people with lipedema.
Yeah.
Especially in the stage 4 where the lymphatic system is overloaded.
Right. So 635 millimeter light can help with fat reduction and maybe even boost lymphatic drainage.
Yeah, it's a multitasker.
I like it. What about the 810 millimeter wavelengths? What does that one do?
Well, 810 millimeter light can also help with fat reduction.
Okay.
But it seems like its real strength is its anti-inflammatory and pain-relieving effects.
And that's really important.
It is, because lipedema isn't just about the extra fat.
Right.
It's about the pain that comes with it, too.
Yeah, living with chronic pain is so difficult.
Exactly. And what we see with 810 millimeter light is that it can actually reduce that pain by changing how the body works naturally.
So how does it do that?
Studies show that this wavelength reduces inflammation by changing how much of certain chemicals the body makes.
Chemicals that are part of that inflammatory response. So it's not just masking the pain, it's actually going after what's causing it.
Exactly. And there's more.
Okay.
810 millimeter light can also make the body produce more endorphins.
Which are the body's natural painkillers.
Exactly.
So it's like a double dose of pain relief.
It is both reducing inflammation and boosting those feel-good endorphins.
That's amazing. And some researchers are even looking at using both wavelengths together.
Yes.
635 millimeters and 810 millimeters.
They are.
What made them think to do that?
Well, the idea is to use the strengths of each wavelength to make a more complete treatment. By combining them, they're hoping to really maximize both the fat reduction and the pain management parts of photobiomodulation.
So you get the benefits of both.
You do.
Attacking the fat and dealing with the pain and inflammation at the same time.
That's a great way to put it.
That's pretty cool. And it can be adapted to each person, right?
Yes. The treatment can be tailored to the person's needs and what stage their lipedema is in.
It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
It's not. It's about making sure each person gets the best outcome.
This could really change things for people with lipedema.
It has the potential.
Imagine if lipedema wasn't this, life sentence of pain.
Then limitation.
Yeah, but a condition that you could manage.
With light therapy.
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
But we're just getting started, right?
Yeah.
There's always more to learn in science.
There is. What else can I tell you about photobiomodulation?
Well, we've been talking about lipedema.
Right.
But could this technology help anyone with stubborn fat, even if they don't have lipedema?
That's what researchers are trying to find out.
So we've been talking about how photobiomodulation can really help with lipedema by targeting fat cells and reducing pain. But now I'm thinking bigger picture.
Okay.
Could this technology be useful for anyone who's dealing with stubborn fat, even if they don't have lipedema?
That's a great question. And a lot of researchers are looking into that right now.
And what are they finding?
Well, the potential is huge.
Okay.
We could be talking about a whole new way of thinking about fat reduction.
Really?
Imagine targeting fat precisely and non-invasively without surgery.
Wow.
Or crazy diets.
Or having to work out like crazy.
Exactly.
That sounds amazing.
It does, but it's important to remember that even though the research is promising, photobiomodulation isn't a replacement for a healthy lifestyle.
Right. It's not a magic bullet.
No, diet and exercise are still crucial.
For sure, those healthy habits are important.
Yeah, so think of photobiomodulation as like another tool in your weight management toolbox. It could be especially helpful for those people who have stubborn fat that just won't go away no matter what they do.
So for people who are doing everything right but still hitting a plateau?
Exactly. It could be a real breakthrough for them.
That's so cool. And it could also be helpful for people who can't exercise easily.
Right. Or for people who just want a less invasive way to, contour their body.
That makes sense, but it makes me wonder, if this becomes a safe and effective way to manage weight, what could that mean for society?
That's a really interesting question to think about.
Yeah.
It could change how we see body image.
In what way?
If we can target fat easily and without being invasive, it could really help people feel more confident and comfortable with their bodies.
I love that, less pressure and more empowerment.
Exactly.
But like with any new technology.
Yeah, especially one that deals with body image.
Right, there are ethical things to consider.
Absolutely. We need to make sure that if this becomes widely available, it's used responsibly and ethically.
So it's about helping people make healthy choices.
Exactly. Not about making them feel bad or giving them unrealistic expectations.
That's a really important point. It seems like we've only just scratched the surface of what this technology can do.
I think so. We've covered a lot today.
We have from the science behind it to how it can help with lipedema and even beyond.
But this is really just the beginning.
It is. Before we finish up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay.
If light can change our bodies, what else can it do for our health and well-being? What other amazing discoveries are waiting for us in the world of light therapy?
It's exciting to think about the future of light therapy is bright.
It really is, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, listeners. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep shining your light.